My name is Laura, and for years, I didn't trust my own memories. It started subtly, so subtly that no one, not even doctors, took it seriously at first. I would lose minutes, then moments, then entire conversations. Someone would mention something I supposedly said just seconds ago, and I'd stare back at them blankly, my heart racing, my mind completely empty. At first it felt harmless. I'd laugh it off. Guess my brain's buffering again, I'd joke. But over time, the gaps grew darker, more frightening, and that's when Ethan, my husband, began to worry. At least, that's what he said. You forgot again, he'd sigh, rubbing his temples like my illness exhausted him. You were yelling, Laura, screaming things you don't even remember. I'd apologize. Over and over, I trusted him. Why wouldn't I? He was my husband, the man who held my hand through hospital visits, who spoke to doctors on my behalf when I got overwhelmed, who told everyone how brave I was. And then there was Maya, my best friend since college. My constant. The person who swore she'd protect me when my own mind couldn't. She started filling in my blanks. You said something really cruel to me yesterday, she'd say gently. But I know you didn't mean it. It's just your condition. Each time she said it, my chest would tighten with shame. What kind of person says horrible things and doesn't even remember? What kind of wife scares her own husband? The doctors finally gave it a name. Transient dissociative amnesia, possibly triggered by stress. They said my memories could fragment under emotional strain. Ethan latched onto that diagnosis like it was a weapon wrapped in sympathy. From that point on, every mistake, real or imagined, was blamed on me. I forgot where I placed my phone. Laurel, you accused me of stealing it. I couldn't remember an argument. You threw a glass. It almost hit me. I'd look at him in horror. I would never. You don't remember, Laura, he'd say softly. That's the problem. And Maya would nod beside him. She was really angry, she'd add quietly. I was scared too. That word, scared, changed everything. Because suddenly, I wasn't just sick. I was dangerous. They began documenting things for my own safety. Notes, dates, lists of things I supposedly did. They showed me screenshots of messages I didn't remember sending, voicemails I didn't remember recording. I believed them. Why wouldn't I? My own mind was betraying me, and slowly, piece by piece, they convinced me of something far worse, that I was capable of horrible things. After the diagnosis, everything in my life began shrinking. Not all at once, quietly. So quietly that I didn't notice until I was already trapped inside it. Ethan insisted on structure. Routine helps your condition, he told me, gently taking over things I used to do myself. I'll handle the finances. I'll drive. You get distracted. I'll talk to people for you. You don't want to say something you regret. At first it felt like love, like protection. But soon I realized I wasn't being supported. I was being managed. He started correcting me in front of others. No, Laura, that's not what happened, he'd say casually when I told a story. Maya would smile apologetically at whoever we were with. Her memory does that sometimes. Every correction chipped away at my confidence. I stopped talking as much, stopped trusting my instincts, stopped believing myself. Because if I couldn't remember what I did 5 minutes ago, how could I trust anything I felt? Maya moved closer, literally and emotionally. She began coming over every day, at first to check on me, then to cook, then to help me shower when Ethan said I was too disoriented. I hated that part. I hated how small I felt, standing there while my best friend washed my hair like I was a child. But she always reassured me. I'm doing this because I love you, she'd whisper. You know I'd never hurt you. Ethan and Maya started talking about me while I was in the room. She had another episode today, Ethan would say. She accused me again. Accused him of what? Sometimes they told me, sometimes they didn't, and that was worse because the unknown allowed my imagination to do the damage for them. One night, Ethan sat me down at the kitchen table. His voice was calm, measured, almost rehearsed. You tried to hurt me today. My breath caught. What? You grabbed a knife, he said. You were screaming. Maya had to pull you back. I felt sick. I would never. You don't remember, Laura, he repeated softly, and that's what scares me. Maya reached for my hand. I didn't want to tell you, she said, eyes glossy, but we were both terrified. Terrified, that word again. They showed me a photo, a blurry image of a kitchen counter, a knife lying near the edge. This was after, Ethan said. My head spun. I couldn't remember any of it. I cried until my throat burned. I begged him to forgive me for something I couldn't even picture. That night, I slept in the guest room. For safety, Ethan said. And that's when the final seed was planted. The idea that I was not just sick, but dangerous. Weeks turned into months. Ethan became increasingly distant, his patience thinning, his words sharp but calculated. He didn't raise his voice in anger. He raised it in accusation, carefully framing every interaction so I would doubt myself even further. You need help, Laura, he said one evening after I had confused the dates of an appointment. You can't be left alone. Maya nodded silently beside him, her expression one of sorrowful sympathy. She had become my shadow, the one I trusted most, and yet I didn't know she was feeding him lies about me while whispering poison into my ears. She's confused, Maya said quietly, almost too quietly. I don't know if she knows what she's doing anymore. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake them both and demand the truth, but I couldn't. I didn't know what was real. I had gaps in my memory that swallowed whole conversations, whole arguments, whole moments of my own life. Then came the papers. Divorce papers. Ethan handed them to me with the same gentle, controlled calm he always wore. You don't remember, Laura, he said softly, but you tried to hurt me. I can't stay with someone dangerous. It's over. I stared at the forms, the signatures, the cold precision of legal language. What? I whispered. You don't remember, he repeated, as if the phrase alone justified his betrayal. You don't remember anything, but the evidence is clear. And for the first time, I understood the scope of their plan. They had been orchestrating it for years. Every missing memory, every accusation, every terrifying moment I couldn't recall. All of it had been carefully manipulated to make me doubt myself. And behind it all, Maya had been their perfect accomplice. My best friend, the one person I trusted the most, was the one who had plotted every lie, every whisper, every frame against me. I felt my mind spin. Rage, fear, betrayal, despair, each emotion pounding against the gaps in my memory. But beneath all of it, a slow, steady flame began to burn. They had underestimated me. They had assumed my illness made me powerless. That gaps in memory meant gaps in courage. That confusion meant weakness. But I was still Laura, and I could remember enough. Enough to see the truth, enough to plan, enough to take back control. For the first time, I allowed myself to feel it fully. Revenge. The turning point didn't come with rage. It came with clarity. One morning, I woke up and realized something that chilled me more than any accusation Ethan had ever made. If my illness made me forget things after they happened, then anything I recorded could not be erased. So I started quietly rebuilding my reality. I bought a small voice recorder and hid it in my bag. I installed an app that automatically saved audio when activated. I began writing everything down, times, words, expressions, even silences. Not to prove anything to them, but to prove it to myself. At first, the notes were simple. 9:15 a.m., Ethan said I yelled last night. I remember making tea and watching TV. No anger. 11:40 a.m., Maya said I insulted her. She smiled while saying it. The more I wrote, the more patterns emerged. Their accusations were never immediate. They always came later. After a gap, after a moment when no one else was around, I began recording conversations without telling them, and that's when everything unraveled. One afternoon, Ethan told me calmly, "You threatened me again this morning." But I had the recording. I listened to it 3 times. There was no shouting, no threats, no knife, only silence, and his voice steady, normal. That night, I cried, not because I was scared anymore, but because I was angry. They weren't protecting me. They were manufacturing a monster and dressing it up as concern. And Maya, she slipped up first. One evening, while she thought I was in the shower, I heard her whispering on the phone. I know, she said, laughing softly. She believes everything. It's honestly sad how easy it is. My heart stopped. I didn't move, didn't breathe. I recorded everything. She continued. Once the divorce is finalized, it's over. She won't remember enough to fight back. Divorce, fight back. She. That was the moment the fog lifted completely. My illness was real, but their cruelty was deliberate. From that moment on, I stopped being their victim. I became their mirror. I let them believe I was still confused, still fragile, still controllable. I apologized when they accused me. I cried when they wanted guilt. I nodded when they lied. And all the while, I collected everything. Because people who think they're winning, they get careless. Once I knew the truth, everything looked different. The way Ethan and Maya exchanged glances. The way conversations stopped when I entered the room. The way Maya started dressing nicer when she came over. Lipstick she never wore around me before. Perfume she knew Ethan liked. I noticed things I'd been trained not to notice. Because when you're told you're unreliable long enough, you stop trusting your instincts. But now, I trusted patterns. I began checking the phone records Ethan thought I couldn't understand. I photographed calendars. I matched dates. Every episode I supposedly had lined up perfectly with their secret meetings. Every accusation followed a night they were together. It was grotesque in its precision. The worst lie, the one that made my blood run cold, was the attempted murder story. I finally found where it came from. A text thread. Hidden. Archived. Maya had written to Ethan, "We need something big. Something final. She can't come back from that." Ethan replied, "I'll handle it. She won't remember anyway." They staged it. The knife, the photo, the fear. They had rehearsed it like a play. My illness as the perfect cover. My silence as the perfect alibi. I wasn't a wife to Ethan. I was an obstacle. And to Maya, I was something worse. A stepping stone. But here's what they didn't understand about memory loss. You don't need to remember everything to tell the truth. You just need receipts. I backed everything up. Clouds, drives, emails to myself scheduled weeks ahead. Then I did the most important thing. I stopped reacting. When Ethan said, "You scared me again," I whispered, "I'm so sorry." When Maya said, "You hurt me with your words," I cried on cue. They grew bolder, careless. In love, and love makes liars sloppy, they started planning out loud, talking about after everything is finalized, talking about vacations, about starting fresh on the ruins of my life. So I set the final trap, not with anger, but with truth, timed perfectly. The day I chose to act, everything aligned perfectly. I arrived at the lawyer's office where Ethan had scheduled the final divorce signing. Maya was there, smiling, radiant, confident, completely convinced they had won. Ethan, calm as always, even handed the papers to me with a faintly patronizing smile. "You know what to do," he said. "Just sign." I nodded, keeping my expression soft, calm, vulnerable. Exactly what they expected. Then I activated the recorder hidden in my bag. Every conversation from months before, every staged accusation, every plot they whispered about and thought I could not hear, all played back in crystal clarity. The lawyer paused mid-page, eyes widening as the audio filled the room. "What is this?" Ethan demanded. His carefully constructed composure cracked. "That, Ethan," I said slowly, deliberately, "is everything you and Maya have done to me. Every lie, every manipulation, every plot to destroy my life and steal my marriage. Maya gasped. Ethan's face went pale. The smile he always wore, the one he used to charm and intimidate, vanished completely. Laura, this isn't. It's not what it sounds like, Ethan stammered, but the recordings continued. I played the texts where they planned the fake knife incident. I played Maya whispering about me being powerless because of my illness. I played the casual, smug conversations where they celebrated their plan to be together, thinking I'd never find out. The lawyer, after a long silence, leaned forward. This is evidence of deliberate abuse and manipulation, he said. We need to contact the court immediately. Ethan tried to snatch my bag. Maya reached to grab the recorder. I held them off calmly, as if they were nothing more than insects. You thought I was broken, I said. You thought I couldn't fight back, but the only thing broken was your morality. By the time the court got involved, the divorce papers were irrelevant. The investigation shifted entirely. Instead of me being accused, they were accused. Fraud, manipulation, emotional abuse, all documented. The final humiliation for them came when their friends, colleagues, and family were shown the evidence. People who had trusted Ethan and Maya were stunned. The narrative of Laura as the dangerous, forgetful wife shattered completely. I watched them shrink under scrutiny. The people who had bullied and gaslit me into silence now witnessed the full truth. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I simply smiled. The power balance had flipped completely. The woman they tried to destroy, was now untouchable. My memory gaps were no longer my weakness. They had been my weapon, my cover to uncover the truth. And as they faced the consequences they so desperately tried to hide, I finally felt free. Free from lies, free from betrayal, free from the people who had treated me as weak because I trusted them. And most importantly, I realized something vital. No one can control you if you trust yourself first.